Okay, and who am I missing? Okay, so we have the quorum at this point, Mr. Chair, if you want to start. I think we're still missing Crystal, but apart from that, everybody else who was expected is here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't see her on there, but I think so. It's just and Joe. I mean, not Joe. Oliver, with notice. Okay.
Right. And so we'll see whether Crystal shows up. She often will show up a minute or two after the meeting starts. If
Okay.
anybody sees her, please just speak up. You know, Jan will read the roll, and we'll see if she responds once we get to that point. So, Mr. Chair, anytime you want to begin.
Okay. All right, so we'll get started. Before we begin, this is a reminder that this is a remote meeting and teleconference using Zoom pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 403-A. Welcome to the Sanford Planning Board's meeting for, I'm actually stopping to look at the date. It's October 20th, 2021. This meeting will come to order. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are offered. Please notify the chair if you are unable to see or hear something. Please note if any planning board members have any potential conflicts of interest of which they are aware, they will disclose the conflict prior to the board initiating a hearing or action on an application. All persons speaking will be asked to state your name and address and then proceed. At the sole discretion of the chair, public testimony may be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For each item, the applicant will be asked to describe the project. Thereafter, the chair will ask proponents of the project to speak, followed by opponents and by those who are neither for nor against, but who may want to ask a question or make a general comment. Everyone who wants will have an opportunity to speak to the board through the chair. Any questions must go through the chair, who will then decide at which point to either ask staff or the applicant to respond. The chair may wait until after testimony has concluded to seek answers to any questions that are raised by the public or board members. Please note that if any rudeness, uncivil behavior, clapping, cheering, booing, etc. will not be tolerated. These behaviors occur, the chair at his discretion may terminate the hearing and reschedule it for another date. In addition, the chair at his discretion will limit repetitious comments, although it is entirely appropriate for an individual to indicate that he or she agrees with the previous speaker. Prior to closing the public hearing, the chair will ask if there are any new comments, and the applicant will be allowed to make a single rebuttal in response to the testimony which was provided. Once the public hearing portion of the meeting is closed, the chair will accept no additional public comment. However, a member of the board at the chair's discretion may ask the applicant or a member of the public to respond to a question. This will not reopen public comment. Planning board decisions are based solely on whether an applicant has provided sufficient evidence to meet the requirements of local, state, and federal laws. In this regard, public testimony is most effective when it considers the impact of a project in light of Sanford subdivisions, site plans, shoreland, or zoning ordinances, or other relevant regulations. After the board votes on the merits of each project, it will vote on written findings of fact. Since the findings may substantially affect any appeal rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting not leave until the board has adopted the findings for the project you are interested in. After the planning board makes its final decision, any reconsideration by the board must be made at the next regularly scheduled meeting. If anyone wishes to appeal the board's final decision, he or she must do so within 30 days. The city's ordinances and comprehensive plan are available for viewing on the city's website and in the Planning and Development Department's office at 919 Main Street in Sanford. Remember, this is a public proceeding. You have the right to hear what is happening, and we welcome public participation. Okay, I think we're ready to take our roll call vote for attendance.
Okay, Diane Connolly.
Present.
Joe Hanslip.
Present.
John McAdam.
Present.
Thomas Morgan.
Here.
Crystal Penny. I do not believe she is present. And Chairman Lenny Hoare.
Present.
Mr. Chair, that means that we have 5 of the 7 members in attendance, one excused and one unexcused absent.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to the next item on our agenda. This is the minutes for October 6th, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to discuss, Mr. Chair.
Let's do the motion first. We'll do the first and
Motion to
second.
approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
I don't understand what a motion to discuss is.
Mr. Chair, there's something wrong with the minutes. They need to be amended.
Okay, let's do the second first, and then we can discuss it.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, discussion on the minutes.
Mr. Chair, on page 5 of the minutes, it says motion passed 4-4, which is incorrect. I believe it was 4-2.
Yes, I saw that.
So I'll make a motion we approve amended minutes with the correction.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
I think I heard both Tom and Joe on that, so I guess we're ready for a vote on the amendment.
Diane Connolly,
Yes.
Joe Hanslip,
Yes.
John McAdam,
Yes.
Thomas Morgan,
Yes.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Four to zero.
Okay.
Wasn't it 5-0?
5-0.
5-0. Yeah, that sounds
Oh,
right.
5. I'm sorry.
We do have 5
I'm
people.
sorry. Tom, I didn't mark you. Sorry, can't count.
Okay. Very good. Are we all set with the minutes?
Well, now we need to make a motion to.
Right. Motion to. I'll make a
To
motion.
approve.
Okay, I'll second that. And a vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Okay, another 5-0.
All right, so we're set with the minutes. And that brings us to the next item on our agenda. This is hearings and business. Item 1 is new business, file 22-40. This is Bonnie Bay Pond LLC, care of GZA and Geo Environmental Incorporated is seeking a major site plan, private way, and conditional use approval to construct a 5.5 megawatt DC solar array on property owned by Blueberry Vista LLC. This is located off Sam Allen Road and Pinewood Drive, tax map lot R22-40, and Pinewood Vista LLC, R23-21. And we previously opened and closed the public hearing on this item. Do you have any background on this for us, Beth?
Sure. So the applicant took great care to revise this application based upon staff comments. The previous holdup was trying to make adjustments to the private way to meet the city standards, as well as concerns expressed by, I believe it was primarily inland fisheries and wildlife. So they basically asked for a pause on their review so that they could prepare their revisions. They did a good job on that. They made a presentation to the Site Plan Review Committee at its meeting yesterday. And they made a recommendation that the planning board approve the minor subdivision. Excuse me, I need to correct my report here. To approve the, let me make sure I'm in the right file. No, I'm not in the right file. To approve the major site plan, private way, and conditional use. And they did recommend a small set of conditions of approval. As you indicated, the public hearing was held and closed. So really this project is in order for presentation by the consultant and then discussion by the planning board, and then potentially a motion.
Okay, who is here to present the project tonight?
Hi, yes, I'm Amy Mountain from GZA, and I'm here to present the project. And with me is Colin Sexton from Blue Wave.
Okay, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us. Is it all right if I share my screen so I can give a little presentation?
Yes, please.
All right, so hopefully you can see the presentation.
We can, yes.
Okay. Oh, great, excellent, thank you. Okay, so yes, the site is actually, it's two parcels. So one is a landlocked parcel that's technically addressed as Sam Allen Road. So that's the map R22 lot 40. And then access to the site would come from the adjacent parcel that's on Pinewood Drive, map R23 lot 21. So that is a mobile home park. And there's already an existing access road that leads to this landlocked parcel. So that's how that access is going to happen. It is in the rural residential zone, and this is a conditional use in this zone. The site is approximately 90 acres. We are on the border with the Wells Town Line. We are on the edge of the Branch Brook watershed. We are not in the shoreland overlay. We are, in fact, in the inner airport approach zone. And just a little bit about the project, it will offset carbon emissions by approximately 5,203 metric tons per year and avoid more than 5 million pounds of coal burned per year. So some stats for you. So this is just an overview of the site and some of the natural resources that were identified. So we've got some wetlands, we've got an intermittent stream that comes through and crosses that existing access road in this general area. So we also identified a vernal pool, and that vernal pool, because a spotted turtle was observed in that pool, it makes it a significant vernal pool according to IF&W. And so we've got this 250-foot buffer around the vernal pool, and that's considered its critical terrestrial habitat. So we've got our access road that's going to provide, it's going to be built to private way standards, and it's going to provide the street frontage for this landlocked parcel. And so in order to do that, we have to make it a minimum of 16 feet wide. And because of this stream crossing, we've got a culvert here that needs to be extended in order to widen this road to 16 feet. So that was that pause that we took in the development, because we really needed to work with IF&W and make sure that they were going to be, that they were on board with our approach for dealing with this culvert. And because the rare species in this area is the spotted turtle, and the spotted turtle does not, they're an overland animal and would not typically use a culvert for access, you know, on either side of the access road. IF&W was okay with us just extending this existing 24-inch culvert rather than replacing the culvert. So we did go through that process, and they're on board with that. So we're going to widen this and build this to private way standards, and then the actual solar array will be tucked away back here on this landlocked parcel. We also worked with IF&W. There was a record of the northern black racer identified in this area. And so we did some surveys, and we did in fact observe the black racer on site. They also wanted us to look for a couple of other rare species, but I'll talk about that on an upcoming slide. So those are some of the rare species that were identified in addition to the other natural resources. So here's a picture of our design. I know you can't see many of the details, but basically we've got our access road. We're widening the access road a little bit at this turn so that we can provide some sight distance here around this curve. Let's see. We're going to have some signage at the gate for owner information so that if there were a problem identified on site, someone could call the owner and, you know, get someone out there to assist if it were a deer locked in the fence or something to that effect. We will be submitting a separate private way plan that doesn't have all of the solar array details, but that can be recorded with the Registry of Deeds. And I know that is one of the conditions that's being put forward for our conditional approval. We are going to install some vegetated swales in here, which really are just going to detain water for a little bit in the case of a large rainstorm so that we don't overwhelm this culvert. This culvert meets the 25-year storm capacity, but it does tend to overtop the access road in a 50 or 100-year storm. It doesn't overtop it enough to create erosive conditions, but just as a measure to make sure that we're not overloading this culvert, we've got these vegetated areas that we're going to direct stormwater to so that they can attenuate there. We did a little bit of homework on what the visibility might be. And what you'll see is that from these different directions, we've got anywhere from a 4 to a 2 foot elevation change. So it's really a fairly flat area. And we've got at the closest residence is about 575 feet away. And then the distance increases the more you go around the site. And that's a natural wooded buffer on all of those sides. So in our opinion, we don't believe that this is going to be visible from residences or local roads in the area. So as I mentioned before, we did do some rare species surveys. We did in fact find the black racer, the northern black racer. And here's a picture of that for those of you that enjoy looking at snakes. We also were asked to look for a couple of rare and threatened butterflies. One of them was the sleepy dusky wing, and the other was the Edwards hair streak. We did not find those butterflies, but we did find this little guy over here, this pine elfin. We are aware that the site is within a conservation focus area, which is the South Sanford Barrens focus area, of which some of the vegetation consists of this pitch pine and oak shrub barrens, which is actually the type of early successional habitat that this black racer really enjoys. So what we're working with IF&W on is ways to conserve as much of that type of habitat as possible on the remainder of the site that will not be developed. And so we've actually got a meeting with them next Wednesday to go over our mitigation plan for this guy. And this type of natural species that's found on site is the type of vegetation that we're going to try and maintain as much of as possible. So in summary, our impacts are limited to conservative improvements of our existing access road that's there. That access road will be built to private way standards, and that's what's going to provide the street frontage required for this project. In order to extend that culvert, we're going to have approximately 175 square feet of wetland impact, which I think is pretty small impact there. And the project will provide renewable energy. That's all I've got there.
Okay. I'll open it up to questions from the planning board. Does anybody have any questions?
How high is the fence around the solar panels?
Yep, so we're proposing a 7-foot high fence that will be actually raised off of the ground anywhere between 6 and 12 inches to allow for small species to be able to go underneath the fence. Because we've got those like the black racer and that spotted turtle on site, we want to be able to allow them to move about the property as easily as possible. So there will be, it'll be 6 to 12 inches off the ground, but then it'll be a 7-foot tall fence.
Somewhere I saw something about herbicide spraying in under the panels. Can you go into detail about that?
So what was included is the standard operations and maintenance plan, which indicates that if there is a necessity for that, it might be used. That's not anticipated on this site. We're going to try and preserve as much of the natural shrub sort of early successional habitat as much as possible. We can update that operations and maintenance plan to remove those references to pesticides and herbicides, because that's not the intent. That's certainly not the go-to, but it would be, those measures would be taken if for some reason it was deemed necessary.
So you would use a licensed commercial applicator to apply those pesticides or herbicides?
Yes, I believe so. I don't believe that's something that I'd be going out there doing.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chair, can I ask him questions, please?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say to the applicant, it was a very interesting read on your application. I enjoyed reading it. I have a few questions, if I may. You talk about when maintenance or fire marshal comes on the site about checking for deer. Can you make sure that a sweep is done before you conclude construction? Also, on every maintenance trip or that kind of thing. I'm glad to hear that you've raised the fence. That was one of my concerns. You talk about decommissioning plans, power posts, racking posts, and they're fully being pulled out of the ground. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the intent. Yes.
Okay. There was one other thing that caught my attention. How tall are the cranes going to be when you install the panels? I noticed that the airport manager said something about lights on the crane, but what is the height of these cranes when they have to move these panels? Because it is in the approach area.
Yes. So it'd be, it depends on what kind of crane is used, but it'd be either 60 to 80 foot. So a max of an 80-foot extension on that crane. The airport director was fine with that, but she did ask for us to provide lighting and advance notice of the use of the crane.
Okay. Other than that, those are the questions I had. Thank you very much.
Okay, other questions from the board? Joe, are you all set?
All set. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Tom, any questions?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. I would just ask, does the city engineer have any concerns about their plan, or is he okay with that?
Hey, good evening. No, I've got no concerns. They did a great job working through all of the comments from all of the staff. As far as the conditions that you'll hear, the only condition that I guess I had input on was the need for a plan that can be recorded at the registry to formalize the private way, which Amy touched on in her presentation. That shouldn't be a problem at all. As far as the engineering plans go, everything looks great.
Okay. Sounds good. I don't have any questions. This all looks pretty good to me. If we're all set, I think, Beth, we can go with the findings of fact.
Okay. Okay, guys, this is one of those marathoners, and I have combined a lot of them, so we'll have a minimum number of votes. The first category is for section 280-16-7.1, utilization of the site, 280-16-7.11, natural features, 280-16-7.12, groundwater protection, 280-16-7.16, shoreland relationship, 280-13-5.1.3, will not cause water pollution, sedimentation, or erosion, contaminate any water supply, or reduce the capacity of the land to hold water. 280-13-5.1.4, will not create unhealthful conditions. 280-13-5.1.6, the location has no peculiar physical characteristics which will create or aggravate adverse environmental impacts. And 280-13-5.1.8, if located in the shoreland overlay zone, will not result in damage to spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, and other wildlife habitat, will conserve shoreland vegetation, will conserve visual points of access to waters as viewed from public facilities, will conserve actual points of access to waters, will conserve natural beauty, and will avoid problems associated with floodplain development and use. The recommendation is that the standard is met with condition. The explanation is that the proposed development is designed to reflect the natural conditions of the site and adequately protect significant natural features, ground and surface waters, freshwater wetlands, and shoreline, will not cause water pollution, the ability of the land to hold water, and will not create unhealthful conditions. With the provision of 1, a note and measures to protect the sensitive natural features of the South Sanford Barrens Conservation Focus Area, 2, an engineered stamp on the site plans, and 3, a revised strategy to address how deer trapped within the fenced-in area of the site, the proposed development, shall not have unacceptable impacts on natural features or groundwater, cause water pollution, sedimentation, erosion, contaminate water supply, or reduce the ability of land to hold water or create unhealthful conditions. The development has no peculiar physical characteristics and shall not create or aggravate adverse environmental impacts. The development shall not result in damage to shoreland characteristics, including spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird, or other wildlife habitat, will conserve shoreland vegetation, natural beauty, floodplains, open space, or historic resources. There are no points of public access to waters on the site, and the application is in conformance with other regulations. That's it.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Okay, we're ready for a vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
We have a 5-0.
The next grouping is 280-16-7.2, access to the site, 280-16-7.3, access into the site, 280-16-7.4, internal vehicular circulation, 280-16-7.5, pedestrian circulation, and 280-13-5.1.2 will not create hazards to vehicular or pedestrian traffic. The recommendation is that the standards I'm going to change this. Are met with condition. The explanation is that Sam Allen Road has adequate capacity to serve the proposed development, and Pinewood Drive shall not create hazards to vehicular or pedestrian traffic. No pedestrian traffic is anticipated on the site, and with provision of meets the bounds for the private way, including the turnaround, and provision of required notes on the site plan, these standards shall be met.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Before we
Okay.
vote, I want to talk about something here. There's a comment on here about Sam Allen Road, but there is no access to Sam Allen Road to the site. Right? I know the address
No
is at
direct
Sam Allen Road.
Yeah.
That's why
No
we have to do
direct
it.
Yes, because they do they can travel along Sam Allen Road to get to Pine Haven Drive. It can certainly be edited, Tom, and if you've got any suggestions,
Nope,
I'm
if-
open to them.
No, I
Okay.
guess if there's no concern, that's fine.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Yes.
Jack, Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5-0.
The next grouping is 280-16-7.6 stormwater management and 280-16-7.7 erosion control. The recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is that the stormwater and erosion control portions of the application, including plans, adequately address these standards.
Motion to accept.
Second, Jack.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I have one question.
Okay.
Where the culvert's going to be extended, how are they not going to have the road crushed, like have the culverts flattened? Or is there enough build up on the road there? If these heavy trucks, logging trucks, whatever, cranes come over it.
Yes, the plan includes that we're going to add cover to that culvert because there isn't enough cover right now to handle the type of traffic that it's going to get. So we're going to add additional materials to meet the minimum standards for that. So yes, that's part of the plan.
Thank you. I must have missed that. Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Okay, if there's no other discussion, we can vote. Yep. Go ahead, Jan.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5-0.
The next grouping is 280-16-7.1 water supply, 280-16-7.9 sewage disposal, 280-16-7.10 utilities, 280-16-7.14 solid waste disposal, and 280-13-5.1 will not place a burden on municipal services. The recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is that no water supply or sanitary waste will be generated by this development. Details about electrical connection on Pinewood Drive adequately address need for other utilities, and submission materials adequately provide for disposal of solid waste and will not place a burden on municipal services.
Motion to accept.
Seconded.
Second it, Diane.
I heard Joe first.
That's fine.
Any discussion? No discussion? Okay, we're ready for a vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5-0.
The next grouping is 280-16-7.13 exterior lighting, 280-16-7.15 landscaping, 280-16-7.18 buffering, and 280-13-5.5 will not create nuisances to neighboring properties. The recommendation is that the standards are met. The explanation is that no exterior lighting is proposed, and submission materials adequately address landscaping and buffering, and the site design shall not create a nuisance to neighboring properties.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Any discussion? If not, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe, Joe, that was a yes.
Joe is muted.
No, I'm not. I was. I'm just checking to make sure Diane's on her toes.
I don't have.
Okay, so Joe was a yes.
Yes.
Okay. Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5-0.
The next one is 280-16-7.17, technical and financial capacity. The recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is that the applicant has demonstrated adequate technical and financial capacity to construct the development as proposed.
Motion to accept.
Seconded.
Any discussion? No, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Yes.
Jack, Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, three
And the
more,
motion
guys. Thank you. 280-16-7.19, airport encroachment. The recommendation is that the standard is met with condition. The explanation is that with the condition that the applicant coordinate with the airport director on the use of a crane, this standard is met.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Any discussion? Oh, we're ready for a vote, Jan.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Yes.
Jack, Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5-0.
Next one is 280-13-5.7, has no characteristics that are atypical of the general category of use. The recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is that development proposal does not have characteristics that are atypical of utility solar generating facilities.
Motion to accept.
Seconded.
Discussion? Well, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5-0.
And the last grouping, and these are all associated with private ways. 280-16-7.20.1, no more than one dwelling unit and related accessory buildings and uses. 280-16-7.20.2, maintenance agreement, and 280-16-7.20.3, minimum standards. The recommendation is that the standards are met with condition. The explanation is the private way shall not serve more than one residential dwelling unit and related accessory buildings and uses. The application adequately addresses maintenance of the private way, and with the condition that the applicant provide meets and bounds for the private way, including the turnaround and provision of required notes on the site plan, these standards shall be met.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Okay, I heard Diane first on that one. Any discussion? Seeing none, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5-0.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to read the suggested motion?
Sure.
Okay. I will point out that I have not made any changes to the discussion about the deer, so if that needs some revision, we should talk about it a little bit, and I'll be happy to make some revisions. The planning board accepts the information in the August 27, 2021 and October 13, 2021 summary reports and the October 19, 2021 site plan review committee recommendation, grants the requested waivers except for the requirement for engineered stamped plans, and finds that the proposed major site plan private way and conditional use application file number 22-40 to construct a 5.55 megawatt grid-scale solar energy generation facility on property owned by Blueberry Vista LLC and located at Sam Allen Road and Pinewood Drive, tax map and lot R22-40, has satisfied the requirements of Article 8, 9, 15, and 16 of the zoning ordinance, subject to the submission of information and conditions raised in the review, which are part of the following conditions of approval. 1, by November 10, unless other arrangements are made with the planning director, provide 5 copies of revised plans to the planning department that provides A, meets and bounds for the private way, including the turnaround, as well as required notes associated with the private way and a signature block to the satisfaction of the assistant city engineer. B, a note and measures to protect the sensitive features of the South Sanford Barrens Conservation Focus Area. C, an engineered stamp on these submitted plans. 2, document coordination with the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to address proposed on-site habitat management and construction best management practices. See Planning Board Standard Conditions of Approval number 4. 3, to provide a revised strategy to address how deer trapped in the fence will be released. 4, to coordinate with the airport director on use of a crane for the project to her satisfaction. And 5, planning board conditions of approvals number 2, which is the performance guarantee, 3, which is the AutoCAD, 4, which is the recording signed plan at the registry, 6, which is the inspection escrow, out of order. 5, the outside agencies, and in this case, we're talking about DEP. 7 is a pre-construction meeting. 8 is the landscaping performance guarantee, and 9 is changes to the approved plan.
Motion to approve.
Second, Jack.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to add one more condition, if I may.
Okay.
That the site be swept upon completion of the construction for the deer to make sure they're all out. And that when scheduled visits and unscheduled visits of maintenance, that the gate, the entrance is locked upon entering the site and exiting the site, not to let the deer in, because there is quite a bit of deer in that area. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask the question?
Yes.
Would it be okay to simply add that to condition number 2, which talks about the revised strategy, so that it would read as follows? Provide a revised strategy to address how deer trapped in the fence will be released. The site will be swept upon closure of the fence. And Diane, let's keep going with that. When the site
scheduled scheduled and unscheduled visits to the site, that the gate be closed upon entering and exiting.
Okay, and for both scheduled and unscheduled visits to the site, to ensure that deer are not trapped behind the fence. Does that work?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion or comments before we vote?
Can I just ask a question real quick? Do we need to provide additional strategies for how to address the deer, or are the strategies that we just listed going to be the strategies that we document in our operations and maintenance plan? Okay, so we'll do, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I understood how to implement what we're doing. I wasn't sure if we need to do additional strategies, above and beyond what was just mentioned.
So is this an addition to the operations manual? Is this what we're doing? Or is it's just a condition of approval, right?
Just a condition I'm asking for, that's all.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, anytime anyone goes in, they need to close the gate behind them And when they leave, close the gate so that no deer can get in.
Absolutely.
So I would suggest, Amy, that you capture the direction you've been given by the board and include that in your revised operations manual. That would adequately address it, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't hear any other comments, so I think we're ready for a vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, good luck.
Great, thank you so much.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would just remind the board that once we receive those, the revised private way plan that includes all of the various elements, planning board will need to sign that. And so as soon as I receive the plans, I will be in touch with you to ask you to drop into the office and to sign them so we can release them and they can be recorded.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, Amy, thanks for joining us. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, have a good one.
Thanks all.
All right, Beth, are we ready for the next one?
I believe so. Just give me one moment to save my document so I don't lose it.
Give her a
when I
second
do
to catch her
something
breath here.
crazy. All righty, so we're going on to Central Park Residences. This is major final subdivision. I'll just remind everyone that the planning board reviewed this project, just removed the preliminary subdivision just about a month ago. And I'm looking for my notes here. I know that Rob Rankin and Tim Rankin are here, and at some point you're going to probably ask them to post the plan to the screen share so that you can see it in front of you. I'll just remind you, this is 30 new units contained in 3 buildings, and it's almost directly across from City Hall, across Central Park, hence the name, Central Park Residences. Really nice article, by the way, in the York County Coastal Star. If you didn't see it, it was a nice one. It also got some coverage. I'm trying to remember whether it made it into main biz. Regardless, I will point out that the Site Plan Review Committee did review the final submission yesterday, and they made the recommendation that the planning board approve the major subdivision, major final subdivision, for Central Park Residences with conditions, very few of them, in the attached suggested motion. And when you are, after you have your discussion, if you want to go through the findings and the draft motion, I'd be happy to do that with you.
Okay, I know we have spent a lot of time with this project, and I know Design Review looked at it too, and you got overwhelming approval. So thumbs up all the way around on that. I guess, guys, if you're ready to present a project, maybe you could give us an overview of what's happening.
Perfect. Thank you, folks. Tim and I are here today to request final subdivision approval for our proposed Central Park Residence project. Many of you are familiar with our proposal at this point, and so I'll kind of keep it brief. I wanted to start off with a little background on our business. In 1986, I established Rankin Homes as a Sanford-based real estate development company. Over the past 30 years, Rankin Homes has grown from its residential roots into a full-service development firm specializing in land acquisitions, residential and commercial development, design-built construction, construction management, and property management. In 2015, Rankin Homes was rebranded as Ryan Corp, and 3 divisions were established to distinguish our selection of services. Ryan Corp Development, Ryan Corp Construction, Rhine Corp Property Management are these divisions. Our goal is to integrate and promote all three divisions as a single brand in the marketplace. In doing so, we can assist clients in developing their projects from vision to reality. Our proposed Central Park Residences project is a prime example of our range of services. The site consists of 4 individual lots located on the corner of School and Bodwell Streets. We acquired the property in the fall of 2014. At the time, the buildings were definitely an eyesore to the community and prone to vandalism. We completed abatement and removed the dilapidated buildings. We spent the next several years reviewing a range of development options, but have struggled to find a bankable project for the Sanford market. After years of hard work and the help of our consultants, Corner Post Land Surveying and Sebago Technics, we're happy to present the proposal we're reviewing tonight. My son Tim joined the Rhine Corp team in 2017 and has taken a lead role in the design and the approval process. He is here to share additional details regarding our proposed project.
Good evening, everybody. The proposed Central Park Residences project will consist of 30 one-bedroom market rate apartments targeting seniors and young professionals. The project will consist of 3 independent buildings constructed in phases with on-site parking at the rear of the building. This project has been designed with a modern yet timeless aesthetic that we feel will fit into the community. We are proposing extensive landscaping, granite planters with trees, new street lights, and well-maintained sidewalks. We hope the Central Park Residences will be a catalyst for future growth and investment by promoting the walkable lifestyle and adding to the number of customers who may visit local businesses. Proposed amenities include in-unit laundry, on-site trash, off-street parking, full kitchens with stainless steel appliances, and air conditioning. We hope to break ground on this project spring 2022 and open for tenants winter 2023. We plan to open our wait list for applicants once construction has begun. We hope the Central Park Residences project can help stimulate the Sanford economy by utilizing local contractors and suppliers. We want to thank the Planning Department, the Site Plan Review Committee, the Design Review Committee, the Planning Board, all for their efforts in reviewing our application. We respectfully request the Planning Board approve our major final subdivision this evening, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay. I guess we'll just open it up to any questions or comments from the planning board.
Mr. Chair, I have one question.
Okay.
At the picture we're showing on the screen right now, the upper right-hand corner, the 4 extended lots. Can you please explain that again? Thank you.
So right here, we have stacked parking, which is allowed as long as they're within the same unit. So you might have 2 parking spots assigned to 1 unit.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any comments? Okay. I'll make a comment. I would just agree with what a lot of other people have said already about this project. I think this is going to look great in the downtown, and hopefully this will be the beginning of a lot more people taking pride in the downtown. Hopefully more projects will be coming in the future. And I guess if I don't hear anything else, Beth, I think we can probably just go right to the findings of fact. I think most members of the group are already familiar with this project anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, I just deleted my text. Give me a second to catch up on that. Okay, so this is going to be one of the old-fashioned approaches with combinations. The first of them are 275-10-38 aesthetics, 275-10-41 shoreline, 275-10-42 groundwater, 275-10-43 floodplain, 275-10-44 wetlands, 275-10-46 open space, and 275-10-48 spaghetti lot. And in all of these cases, the recommendation is that the standards are not applicable. And the explanation is that the sites were previously developed, and proposed new development shall not negatively impact aesthetics, open spaces, historic areas, wildlife habitat, and shoreline access. This standard is not applicable.
Motion to accept.
Seconded.
Second it, Diane.
And I think I heard Joe first. So I'll give it to
Alright.
Joe. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we can vote. You're up, Jan.
Sorry, I forgot I muted myself. Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The next grouping is 275-10-32 water supply, 275-10-33 water system, 275-10-36 the sewerage system. In each of these cases, the recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is that the proposed plans demonstrate that there is adequate water supply and sewage disposal to support the proposed development, and shall not negatively impact the existing water supply or sanitary waste disposal systems.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Any discussion? No, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The next grouping is 275-10-34 erosion, 275-10-45 stormwater, and 275-10-47 phosphorus. In each of these cases, the recommendation is that the standard is met, and the explanation is that adequate provisions have been made for stormwater management, including best management practices for water quality impact and erosion control.
Motion to accept.
Seconded.
Discussion? Okay, seeing none, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe, Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We're now into the singles. 275-10-31 pollution. The recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is that proposed redevelopment of these sites for an apartment complex shall not generate pollution.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Discussion? Yeah, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The next one is 275-10-35 traffic. conditions. The recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is that School Street, proposed access points and designs for internal circulation adequately address potential impacts of vehicular and pedestrian traffic.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Discussion? I do have one question to verify. So the entrances coming off from School Street, they're going to be one way, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
School Street one way. I think Broadwell is two way, but
Broadwell,
you should
yeah.
confirm that
Yes.
with the applicant.
Okay, so that is correct. Broadwell is a
That
two-way.
is correct. Yeah.
Okay, very good. No other discussion? We can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next one is 275-10-37 solid waste. The recommendation is that the standard is met. There was an inaccuracy on the draft I sent out to you. And the explanation is that the plans adequately address this standard.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Discussion? Okay, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Yes.
Jack, Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next one is 275-10-39, conformance with other regulations. The recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is that the proposed subdivision meets all minimum dimensional requirements, performance standards, and all other applicable land use regulations outlined in Chapter 275 and 280.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Discussion? And a vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And the last standard is 275-10-40, financial and technical capacity. The recommendation is that the standard is met. The explanation is the applicant has demonstrated financial and technical capacity to complete the proposed subdivision. The standard is met.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Discussion? And a vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to read the suggested motion?
Sounds like a good idea. And I wouldn't take the lack of discussion on this as a bad thing. I think that's probably because we've seen it before and it's just due to the quality of the application, I think, that we're looking at. So
Mr.
thanks,
Chair, can I ask a question before the director continues?
Sure.
Is there any waivers?
I believe so. Hold on just a moment. Let me get to my report.
I'm seeing some of the parking waivers.
So, yep, there were several waivers. 275-22B1, which is the DEP site location application. 275-22B2, DEP NRPA application, 275-22-B3, the DHS Community Water System, 275-22B4, DHS Subsurface Wastewater System, 275-22B5, U.S. Army Corps application, 275-23-C5, the proposed deed restrictions, 275-23-C12, dedication of land, 275-23-C13, street plans, 275-23-C16, streets, improvements, open space, 275-23-C17, DEP stormwater permit, and 280-14-12.2.4.2, the parking requirement, which you discussed at the last meeting and granted that waiver at the preliminary stage. Except for that one, all of the others are waiver requests because they are not, they don't have those permitting requirements, or they're not proposing to do anything associated with those submission requirements.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, here's the suggested motion. The planning board accepts the information in the October 13, 2021 summary report and the October 19, 2021 site plan review committee recommendation, grants the requested waivers, and finds that the proposed final subdivision for file number K30-39 for 30 apartments and 3 buildings and associated improvements on its properties located at 10 to 14 School Street and 6 Bodwell Street in the Sanford Downtown Design District, tax maps K30 lots 38 through 41, has satisfied the requirements of Chapter 275, subject to the following conditions. 1, 2 hard copies of the signed subdivision plan with the book and page number where it is recorded at the New York County Registry of Deeds, and this is Planning Board Standard Condition of Approval number 4. Number 2, Planning Board Standard Conditions of Approval number 2, which is the performance guarantee. 3, which is the AutoCAD. 4, which is the recorded signed plat that I just mentioned. The inspection escrow. 7 is the pre-construction conference, and 8 is landscaping performance guarantee, and 9, which is changes to the approved plan.
Motion to accept.
Second it, Diane.
Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we can vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
and the motion passes 5-0.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you, gang.
Okay,
you.
look forward to seeing it.
Appreciate all your time.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.
Okay. Looking at the agenda, there's one more item, but I'm going to ask first, is there anybody here in the audience who is here on behalf of the Pepin gravel pit application? Okay, I'm looking at all the names. I don't see anybody here. If there is anybody, please speak up or raise your hand. Okay. Seeing none, I think, Beth, I think we can just have a motion to table this, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table this item to our next meeting.
Second.
I'll
Jack.
second it.
You did it too fast.
Oh.
Do you want me to unsecond it?
If you could for just a moment, so I could indicate this application will not be in order to appear on the next agenda.
It's not, okay.
It should be tabled until the meeting after it has been found complete.
Okay. Maybe we should just say tabled until it is found complete. Is that a better way to word it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I'll make a motion to approve as changed.
I'll second it, Diane.
Okay, any discussion on that?
Can't discuss the tabling motion.
That's true,
why
we
you have
can't.
to do it.
Exactly, so we'll just vote.
Diane,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, so we'll see that at some point in the future. I guess that brings us up to other business, plan and director's report. Beth, have you got anything for us tonight?
Just a couple of quick updates. I think I mentioned at the last meeting that the application period closes for filling the new planner's position on October 29th. I'm hoping that we will set up interviews as quickly as HR can accommodate them. I can tell you at this point, we have 3 applications, 1 promised to be coming in and 2 more potential. Then let's see, the other thing I wanted to mention is that though we are still pretty backed up, there are 10 applications in various stages of review, approval, following up with conditions. The number of new applications coming in has slowed down considerably. I don't know how to evaluate that. I don't know whether it's because we are actually starting to see some let up, or if it's simply that the consultants are now, backed up and that we'll see another slug of these. I'm hoping in the next couple of days that I can call a couple of the consultants that we see on a fairly regular basis and kind of ask them where they are. If they've got a bunch more coming in that they're working on, or if they're pretty much seeing the same thing that we've seen at this point. I don't want you to read too much into that. Let's see. Jan is doing great. I hope you're seeing more of her emails, and the packets are looking a little more manageable now that I've got some assistance in putting those together. Again, if you have suggestions about how we can make it easier for you, please don't hesitate to speak up. And then I guess the last thing I want to tell you is more good news about the CGA site. All of the solid waste has now been removed from the site. We will have all of the wood chip / erosion control mix that is going to be removed from the site removed shortly. There will be some left on site for use on the site. We have undertaken the topographic survey, and we're expecting and hoping for the report next week. That's the final piece that's necessary for us to finalize our second part application to the Army Corps of Engineers for the project. We are, so far, the cost estimates that have come in for the remediation of the soil are coming in within our estimate, within our projected estimates, which is really good news because there's not much more money out there. The administrative procedures associated with the DEP, DECD grant and loan of $300,000 total are almost completed. We're just waiting for one final set of signatures from the city manager, and then we'll be on our way to get moving in that regard. Once I get another week under my belt, I'll be talking with Walden Renewables to find out when they might be interested in getting on the site. They obviously will not be able to get onto the CGA site to start the work there until the soil remediation is done. But the plan and hope is that we'll be able to stabilize the entrance into the site as we begin the remediation process, and that they will be able to come on the site, go around the site to get to the back where the main Turnpike Authority site is, and to be able to start construction then. I hope at the next meeting to be able to give you an update on that as well. So the only bad piece of news, if you can call it bad, is that with this project, we will 100% expend all of our multi-purpose grant. Unfortunately, we will not be eligible to apply for another EPA brownfield grant on the regular grant cycle this year because their standard was that you had to expend you had to spend a minimum of 70% of any outstanding grant. And although we're very close to that now, the deadline for that was October 1st, and we were not able to meet that deadline. There are other strategies that we're pursuing, including the off-cycle grant applications that EPA offers. The DEP has additional revolving brownfields, revolving loan funds, as does Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission, which, if you saw the press recently, just got another award, one of 3 that were awarded to regional councils in the state of Maine. And so we're not out of options. We're just going to have to pursue alternative strategies. And, you know, this project, if nothing else, has taught me how to mix and match and coordinate. So I'm hoping that that's going to, you know, steel me for being able to do this, to continue to work in the mill yard. I also have some really nice photographs before, mid, and after photographs that TRC has been providing me, and also the old ones that they found actually in the code enforcement office. And so I will send out those photos to you folks so that you can enjoy seeing the change. My ultimate goal, and please, I hope I don't have to eat my words on this, but my ultimate goal is that I'm going to create some sort of visual poster that will show before and then the stages of cleanup, and the one that we're missing at this point, obviously, is the remediation. And then once the arrays are constructed, showing the final project development, or the final project development. Very exciting to see this happen. I think that's pretty much it. You know, I'm hoping that if things don't kind of explode over the next week, I'm hoping that I will be largely caught up with at least the initial stages of processing those 10 different applications that I said are in various stages of review and completion. And then, did I send you guys the list of development projects that have been have gone through the process since Molly's departure?
I think so.
I saw it on the council packet.
Yeah, it was a big table, right?
Yep.
If I didn't speak up, I'm honestly losing track of a few of these details. But if not, it's actually a very impressive accounting of what has gone through the site plan review committee, the planning board, and the planning department in the last 2.5 months. When I finished doing it, I almost fell on the floor in exhaustion. You know, seeing it all in one place, it was pretty significant.
Yeah, Mr. Buck had some comments about that too, about how big it was.
Yep. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to point out, as I said, the York County Coastal Star did a very nice article on Central Park Residence's preliminary major subdivision. They also did an article, which I have not had a chance to read yet, on the athletic complex. And so Sean Sullivan wrote both of those. And I know I had a sort of an informal gab with him about some stuff that was coming through, and suggested at some point he may want to have a sit down with me to, you know, just see how much has been happening in Sanford. But anyway, so if you haven't seen that edition of the paper, I don't think I brought it home with me. I think it was either last week or the weeks before. They usually come out on Friday. Alrighty, that's it for me.
All right. So that brings us to communications. Does anybody on the board have any comments or anything they'd like to say?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I have 2 things, but I'll let Jack go first.
Okay, go ahead, Jack.
Question 3 on the ballot, which is right to food. I don't know if anyone's even looked at that, but that could affect some of our land use tables as far as keeping animals and the chicken ordinance in Sanford. the way, at least the way I read it.
What do you think, Beth? Is that legislation going to affect Sanford?
Oh, yeah, it'll affect all the towns in the state. Constitutional amendment.
So they could basically rewrite our land use table.
Only around agricultural issues, but it could potentially have an impact. You know, if it passes, then it's probably worth a conversation to determine whether the city wants to be proactive and propose changes themselves, or if they want to wait until they're pressed by an interested member of the community.
The wording is very vague, and it sounds like most of this will have to be battled in the courts. And it looks like lawyers are the ones that are going to make out the best with this.
Okay, Diane.
I just have two questions. Beth, the next meeting that we have, hopefully I'll be here. If anyone doesn't know, I had an accident on Friday and my trip got postponed. My question is for Beth is that last night, Mr. Nyman gave a quarterly report for Sanford Growth, and he talked about the Stanton being prolonged another year for start to 2023. The next report, I was wondering if we can talk about that some more. And my other question is, did you get the Phoenix Award out of the 61 Washington Street?
I did not, but they said that they were going to protect it, and I will follow up on that, Diane. Thank you for the reminder.
Do you know why I'm asking? Because of those comments I made about International Woolen. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
That is all, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any comments from the rest of the group?
Motion to adjourn.
That sounds okay to me.
Second.
Is that a motion from Jack?
Got a motion and a second.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who made them.
It was Jack had the motion, Tom is a second.
Thank you.
And I guess
Okay,
we'll take a vote on that.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, who's calling me?
Diane,
Yes, whoever's calling me.
it's Jan.
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Tom,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, please. Did you call Joe?
Yes, she did, and I answered in the affirmative.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like we're adjourned for another night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.